Good morning, my dear students. As usual, I am taking a small portion from your own text MPC 2, 1.2.1. The goal of development is to enable people to adapt to the environment in which they live. This is from the soft copy of IGNOU material available with me. Just read it. A pursuit towards. This is something that added by me. The sentence is beginning with this. Self-actualization is essential to achieve these changes. It plays an important role in mental health. People who make good personal and social adjustment must have opportunities to express their interest and desires in ways that give them satisfaction, but at the same time conform to accepted standards. Lack of these opportunities will result in the frustrations and generally negative attitudes towards people and life in general. I wish to invite the knowledge that you gained so far, the importance of even a single word meaning. We have done all this in the last class. For better understanding, every word and every concept is a must. Here first let me see. I told you I added this a pursuit towards. Don't test, nothing will be perfect. Even someone else will be able to modify this in a better way. But self-actualization, it's actually a tip of the apex that I'll be covering with the same slide with the Maslow's theory. But for the time being, I am bringing your attention to just a word, CONFORM, conform. I am sure majority of the students, at least a good number of students, would misinterpret this word for conform. It is my experience. You know the conform, but conform is different. Conforming means a apt suitability. Likewise, a water line, you have seen the PVC pipes. This is the best example I used to tell. Even with a resin, a coupling or an elbow can be fixed to a pipe of the same dimension. Because that much apt suitability must be there. That is called the conform. Okay, I am coming back to this later. Now I wanted to continue the next developmental theory, next very, very important development theory, internationally accepted one by Erikson. Let me see what he says. Erikson stages of development. Similarly, what I have done for your Freudian thing, this particular categorization you may not see in text, age, stage and focus. I am telling again and again that you must by heart this. In fact, to teach this alone, I need one full day, but within our limitations, I am doing it. So, now I think you are familiar with Freudian stages. The only difference is that the stage gets extended till death. So the complete lifespan. Some differentiation came later because life expectancy increased. The theory written during that period, the life expectancy was around 70 and all that. So it is based on this. The modifications also by his school or other thinkers I will add later. Now 0 to 1.5, according to Erikson, the stage is trust versus mistrust. So the focus must be social support. I have purposely mentioned two other concepts. This is not related to Erikson's theory, but for you to better understand what is social support. These terms are taken from other theories. Nothing wrong for you to write in the explanations, because you have to explain the points. For that, these terms terminology you can utilize. See, 0 to 1.5. We have studied the in utero life of the child. So child have learned 5 faculties including memory. So it is quite natural that the child can understand, very small child can understand the presence of mother through the smell, the voice, that rhythm that will be there always. So most of the time the child will be sleeping, but when fed, cuddled, we discussed, by 6 months of in utero life, the child has achieved age of viability, the brain development. So the child can easily understand the presence of the mother, and while cuddling, feeding, the smell of the mother. So most of the time, though the child is sleeping, when the child wakes up, the first inquiry is naturally towards mother. Of course, the primary caregivers are also taking care of the child. But you should understand all this. Again, I repeat, when we say all this, take the case of India, when more than 50% people are suffering, struggling to meet the two ends of revenue and expenditure. Maybe all these theories will be applicable to some creamy layer of any society, but we can't help it. But to study this is a science. At least few people who can do some part-time service may be an asset to this great nation. Now, the trust versus mistrust. Naturally, when the child is inquiring by 1 month, 2 months, child is curiously inquiring. Whenever is awake, the child is inquiring for the face of the mother. This is what you have to understand. But very recently only, Government of India has passed a rule that maternity leave 6 months, and it is extendable for another 6 months, maybe on loss of pay. But this is again to the organized sector, government organizations, other large private companies. What happens to small enterprises? Or even prior to that, after 3 months, even prior to 3 months, the mother has to go for job, because the mother may enter into maternity leave 1 month prior to delivery. In any case, see, take the average of even 3 months availability of mother to the child after the birth, postnatal. When the mother is going in the morning and coming only in the evening, of course, the feeding time, break, everything is given. That is applicable to the organized sector only. What happens to the majority, the huge other population? So the question is very simple. Being in online, no other way I need to answer. Trust versus mistrust. My question is whether the child experiences trust or mistrust. When the child is missing the mother's face, cuddling, feeding, everything, what happens? Or even when feeding is allowed within in another 4 hours and all that. I know even in government companies, what they will do, instead of spreading half an hour like 2 hours, what they will do is that either they will go late or come early from the office, utilize that 2 hours. All this time, whenever the child is awake, the child wanted to see the face of the mother. Naturally, the child will be experiencing mistrust only. That is why very good social support. The child needs social support. That other primary caregivers, everybody should be well introduced to the child, and child should be cuddled by all. So to some extent this problem can be solved. And another thing is that I expressed 2 words here, symbiotic individuation. Like many terminologies are there. You can study well using the net and other textbooks. Now you should understand, symbiotic means the mutual relation. So for till some 6 months, it is found that both the mother and the child mutually wish to have the warmness and the smell of mother and the child mutually. So there is also a point that by 1 year the child is able to stand on its own and may establish 2-foot walk. So there is a point that the child detach the fingers of the mother and move forward. This is a great experience for the child. Till yesterday, in fact, the child and the mother in the symbiotic phase, there was no difference between the child and the mother, always, or the primary caregiver. That independence was not experienced by the child so far. Now the child really experienced the independence. So this is a great experience for the child. Individuation. I am independent from that of the other body. So great knowledge that the child is getting. Then onwards, like any other animal that you can visualize in the nature, the child should be given all the freedom. But what we do, we always use the possessiveness. Okay, whenever the child wanted to get cuddled, you give it. But as far as possible, for the child to get more and more knowledge, let the child leave alone, then onwards. Give all supports. Don't restrict the child's movement. And we will come to other expressions by end of this chapter. You will be coming across with a lot of terminologies. By inquiring more on this, you will come to know how can an individual be nurtured. That is the stages of development. By one quarter, the child walks, runs, but we restrict the movement of the children. And again, the compartmentalization of 0 to 1.5, 1.53, not exactly like this. For better understanding only the continuity, discontinuity, we said we are doing this. Or the theorist has done this. By one quarter, 1.5, the child will be running. The child falls down on many occasions. The child may face some injury, blood may come. What will be the expression of the mother? The child, along with the child, the mother also will be crying. Especially when the mother is staying in the husband's house. There could be ridiculing by other members that child is not properly taken care of. All this stress will come to the mother also. In this patriarchal society, what happens is that mother, the female, is held responsible for everything. So what happens is that mother's expression, the grief, everything will be exaggerated. At this condition, the child is in fact innocent. Child only played, Child didn't do any mistake. But the child, why my mother is crying? So whether the child will have trust or mistrust is a question. But at every step, the child will be experiencing mistrust only. That is the problem. So try to reduce it. And again, why it is we restrict the movement? Why? Because the child did not want you to construct palatial building with the stones paved even on the floors or in the garden. So everywhere the dangerous condition is created by us. Suppose in the ordinary huts there would not have been much problem. So all this child did not want all this. Child only wants freedom. See again 1.5 to 3 you see autonomy versus self-doubt. Next stage, the focus is establishing independence. We expressed the individuation. It's a beginning of the independence. By 1.5, that's why exact compartmentalization we don't expect. By 1.5, 1.5 years, the child is fully free, usually runs everywhere. Child wanted to do lot of energy for the child. It has to be spent out. So for that, child will always be doing the imagination, the brain, ex utero brain growth. The structure is already there. That's what we meant by the age of viability. And other growth takes place. Child always wanted to do something. That is why autonomy versus self-doubt. So you can just imagine by even 2 years, child does not know what to write and all that. You have got lot of imaginations, desires by this time. Child is to be admitted in the best school, the child has to study, get IAS, all this your wishes, desires. Nothing wrong. But when the child is seeing the mother is writing always, the father is writing lot of things, why can't I also write? But what happens when the child starts writing on the walls, on the car, on your important document you didn't take care? Like there was a video, what happened to the passport of the father, many would have seen that. The father is taking the passport and going to airport. When he turns the pages, he finds that child has written many pictures on this, drawn many pictures, many lines. We should have taken care of our assets. We need not have to blame the child. Whatever the child do on the wall, on the paper, for that, whatever is done, it is a great creation for the child. For the child, that's a great creation on the walls, what the child has done. But what we do, we restrict. We may scold to the child, how much money is to be spent for painting? Did the child ask you to do it? No. The child did not want. Child only wanted to play at this time. So you don't facilitate. What's the solution? Slowly let the child be pardoned for all the activities, and slowly, day by day, you can make the child understand that a particular portion of the wall or particular portion of a room or a particular room or a space itself is earmarked for you. You can do all this. We will go and appreciate, give and evaluate it and appreciate it. And even when the friends and all is coming, relatives coming, you can introduce that to the child, child's creation. Child would be happy. In this way, the mistrust, trust, the trust can be developed, mistrust can be reduced. And autonomy versus self-doubt. Every activity, the child is having a self-doubt. What is wrong with me? For each and everything I am punished, I am scolded. And even when by 2.5 years you spend the child to play school, even by 2.5 years and all that, there are schools. LKG starts, you don't believe, LKG starts even at 2.5 years. We have such schools also. But when the child is given a book and child to see parents are covering the books, the child also may have a desire to cover it. Child may take a paper or take out the already covered paper and try to cover it again. Then also you are punishing the child. That is why autonomy. Child want autonomy, autonomous position. Whatever the child want to do, child want to do. Okay, definitely restrictions are necessary. But the thing is that each and every time when the child is restricted, child is having a doubt. So child is not able to establish independence. The next stage is 3 to 6, initiative versus guilt, developing self-care skills. Here also, everyone is two terminology versus, which is best or in between. That you have to train the child, facilitate the child. So here by 3 to 6, child want all the initiative. Child want to take all the initiative. Developing self-care skills. Child has got the individuation. The child has a feeling by that time that I am a separate individual. So child wanted to express all this. Initiative versus guilt. Developing self-care skills means each and everything. Going to school, the child may wish to wear the uniform by himself, wear the socks. Let the child do. Make only the correction. Within a week or month, the child will be expert in doing it. But the mothers are very possessive. I want to do everything for the child. What will happen? Child will be lazy. I am not allowed to do it. That's why children will go to school and remove and wear it again. So the thing is, whatever the child can, that's why a 4-year aged child can do 400 jobs. For example, a guest is coming. I don't say the child should be utilized to serve the food and tea, drinks. But when they goes, you can definitely ask the child to keep these things in the basin for washing. Or even when the child wishes to wash a few plates, let the child do it. So whatever the child wants to do, whatever allowable should be allowed. So all the initiative will only increase the awareness of the child, the knowledge in the child. That is why in Piaget's theory in the next day, maybe my last class for this year, I will be taking Piaget's theory also. So the initiative versus whatever initiative the child wish to do within the capacity. Now the only thing is that you, even though you believe, you don't allow. You want the child to be given all the supports till 30 years and all. That is the difference between, I am not blindly accepting all the culture and concepts of Western countries. There the children are made independent. Even by 14, 15 years they have to go for a part-time job even. But what we do, we don't allow. And the remuneration is also, as I said, it is any job, any technology and technical person, everybody is available in plenty. We have got 135 crore people. 135 crore people. That is the reason. Their people are less, so they are getting attaining more knowledge on career, job, etc. So in this particular area is very important. 3 to 6. By 6 years, the child is also completing almost 2 years of schooling, namely the LKG and UKG. There are schools, maybe very limited, LKG, MKG, UKG. They are admitted even at 2.5 years. So please try to understand. This period is very vital for the child. Why? Because when you have to compare with that of, I will set the complete comparative statement also of Freud, the phallic period. So all the initiative is there. So that video you play again, and because I don't have time. So in this case, by 2 year completion of the schooling, the child is now able to read and write mostly. So whatever way the child can be promoted, you have to follow this. Now comes 6th turf, industry versus inferiority. See the focus, mastery of culturally and academically relevant skills. When we said this, the latency period of the Freud, the child can be turned and tuned in any way. Those who didn't attend my class or didn't study the whole portion may find it difficult to understand. This particular period, you see, 6 year means child is in first standard. 12 year means child is in 6th standard. You can see the teachers, I told you the same example. The last class when I took Freudian theory, maybe in the 2nd class I believe. So what does it mean? Child is able to gain maximum possible basic knowledge in all subjects, including in the mathematics, all the other faculties of adding, reducing, minus, plus, multiplication, division, everything the child is learning, and also cultural skills. So it is your duty, it is the duty of the parents not to build hatredness, but love alone. See, certain parents, they instruct, even when a pencil or eraser is lost, the child is punished. Maybe that it is taken by the peers. So, child should not be so possessive. That's why fixation we studied. Both ends. Some laws, let the child face without fear. So, all these developments should take place within 12 years. And what is the importance of this 12 years? Mastery of culturally and academically relevant skills. Child is usually very loving. To get the gains also, the child may express, child may even sacrifice the individuality, everything, beg before the parents to achieve things. See, everything should be promoted, and child should not have all these negatives, mistrust, self-doubt, guilt, inferiority. I am just taking, like in any other classes, I am here, I am bringing a best example, a case came to my clinic. A 7-year-old child was brought to me, mute, from a nearby place, Iowa. He was also working as a temporary attendant to a college, posted by the management. So, you will come to know, you will have to do a lot of case studies, 240 hours internship. Please remember, many students will not take any pain to do all this. This is the problem, that's why they are not getting enough knowledge. 10 cases we have to do. Immediately after completing your first year, you can do this. When you complete your first year and start studying for the second year, after the examination is over, is the right time for you to start. Of course, we will also be giving some introduction how to prepare all this. So in that, there are education history, social history, medical history, everything will be taken. Naturally, even though we don't write all these things, we record all this. I just asked a brief about the child. What happens to this, all these stages of 1.5, 3, 6, 10? So he told me his wife was working in a cooperative store. But immediately after this child's birth, another child was also carrying. So the mother could not go for job because the mother was asked to take bed rest due to some bleeding and all that. The doctors asked to take bed rest. Now that income is lost. He is already a temporary attendant, getting maybe at that time, it had happened some 10 years back. Maybe at that time, is exactly what I remember, it is 2009 also. So what happened is that the father was formerly he was working as a cycle mechanic. He thought of, he is staying in a rented house arranged by the management. So he is working as a peon cum attendant there. Understanding the difficulty of the child, because the school teacher said the child is not cooperating with school, child is almost mute. Then the child was taken to neurologist, other psychologists, psychiatrists. Then they said only the psychologist can solve this problem. That is the importance of it, because all the other pathology, the structure, everything is, the child is perfectly alright. Somehow they came to know about me, they brought the child to me. When I inquired this, then only they are telling this. So what happened is that to meet the two ends of the revenue and income, because he was a temporary attendant, he doesn't have any other income. So what he did was, he started his, along with his job, he began the part-time work of cycle repair. It's a very great thing, because he wanted to stand on his own instead of begging. The child at that time was in the 3-year, that's right, not compartmentalization, around the spirit. 3-4 years. So the mother is bedridden, her father has to do the household work to take care of this child and also find income. The child, the autonomy, initiative, everything is there in the child. What the child do? Child wanted to help the father with all the tools and all the spare parts. So whatever is kept, even without asking, he will be taking all these things to the father to get the attention and love of the father, because mother is supposed to cuddle. It is not possible for the mother, not that frequently. Income is affected, the father is having lot of distress, and if a spare part, even a screw or a nut and bolt is lost, he will not be able to complete his work and get the money. He is responsible for to the people when they come for cycling. So when it became a disturbance for the father, though he shouted, child did not. Usually, child will always wanted to do accomplish this. So using the screwdriver, he pinched at the skins at various places of the child, and child was punished and asked to close his heart. That we used to do when the child is expressing the cry. Why Pottada? Close your mouth. What happens is that child is forced to do that. So slowly the child became mute. So the school authorities said no meaning in sending this child to school. Then the solution, that is why going back to the earlier stages. This is one of the treatments. In the Freudian theory, going back to the earlier stages, regression, I believe. So what happens is that at that time, it is considered as a defensive, not a healthy defensive mechanism, but deliberately we have to do certain things going back to the period. This is because what the child lost, very good interaction, everything the child lost. So the solution I said was that, and by that time the mother has started going for some work, some income has been generated. I said, by not seeing this workshop itself is a pain to the child, why can't he close it? And we want to solve this problem. Now in any case, neurologists, psychiatrists, everybody is a psychologist only can solve the problem. So what I told him is that you start cuddling the child. So it's a hilly area. I asked, he had only one new bicycle with him. I told him, with that bicycle only, he rode some 7 kilometers and reached my house. So I told him that you use only this cycle. On this cycle, when the hilly area is coming, you keep the child on the cycle, just walk along with the child on the cycle and start talking. Even if a cat is coming or even a cockroach is seen, you ask the child to talk. Child will not have any inhibition to speak to these animals and all that. Why? Because child need not have to worry about that, because child is free, because otherwise child is scared about the people, about the punishments the child receives. So slowly I even requested him to get the child introduced to his college teachers and tell that a psychologist has said a lot of interaction is required for the child. You get interacted with the school children. So I also went there, formulated a group to help the child. Within 3 months, actually the child started speaking. This is what the child, the unconscious that we studied in the Freudian theory, what all distress, what all pain, everything is deposited. So the muting of the child was due to the sufferings the child had to face. Again, the mastery of culturally and academically relevant skills, the importance is that please try to understand, by the time the child reach 12, the child must usually, that is the intelligence issue, a lot of other biological issue, that all I will be covering a portion of this, that much only I can do, but I will definitely create videos and send to you later. In this, if the child is not achieving both the mastery of culturally and academically relevant skills, means that child would be shy. And along with that, you just try to write 1 to 100. I told this example last in one of the classes, that by after 12 means 13 to 19 is the adolescence, hormonal period. Just imagine yourself, a child did not achieve mastered culturally and academically relevant skills, both culturally and academically. What will happen in teenage? 13. That means the child is usually in the 7th standard, lot of syllabus, 8th standard, lot of syllabus are there. Child is trailing in the school. child is not achieving academically, as well as culturally, child has got lot of issues. Child is not given a proper love and affection, everything, consideration. Now the child himself feels, or a student, a boy or a girl of 13 years and 14 years feel that I am good for nothing. I am not appreciated by the school, parents and the society. What will happen? By that time, the hormonal stage has come. Hormonal stage. Lot of hormones have been produced in the child. So when such hormones are produced in the child have got all these passions, sexual feeling, erection of penis in the female, the clitoris. So similarly, they can find an opposite sex who suffer like this, ridiculed by the parents, the society, the school. For them, studying is very, very difficult. So what they should do? It is comfortable for them to enter into a romantic relation. For that, resources are available there because equally suffering opposite sex students are there. So there is every chance that when the child trail in culturally and academically relevant skills, the other faculty, by that time the teenage is coming, child will get spoiled. So this is a very important theory. We have to by heart this, and what all correction we ourselves can do in our life, it's also possible. So next is 12 to 18. Identity versus role confusion. Here it is very difficult for the students to understand because we again use defensive mechanism. No, I chose the right schooling. That's right. What am I? We studied the nature-nurture concept. That is, in fact, that was meant to understand the genetic variety, and also the nurturing takes place by the time you are in even the first year itself, and also till graveyard. But you should understand here what am I means. I think you would have studied the trait theories. If the MBC is not taken, it will be taken so far. The person is consisted of traits. The enduring personality traits in a person is a person. What am I? So it's an opportunity for even you students to understand your own traits. Am I selfish? Am I cruel? Am I loving? Am I possessive? All these are traits only. So what am I? Where I stand now, where I should reach. All these usually in Indian condition, a person rarely achieves this faculty. Even at 25 years, he may not be aware where he should reach. And the opportunity when compared to European countries, we have got lesser opportunities only. Because our children don't go for a job at 14, 15 years unless there is that warranted. So all these things means what will happen? People will be studying something engineering but forced to take up a career in bank or an insurance company. That we see every day. And likewise, many people didn't achieve this academics, everything. Even if achieve it, it's not that easy. Individually, the micro sense psychologists can help. Macro sense, it is not our job to solve the problem of India in employment. Solve politicians decide. We have got role. I'm not saying that we don't have role, but we don't have much role. When individual is coming, we can definitely train for him to achieve an identity. That is called career guidance. CAREER, career guidance. What is the difference with job and career, everything? I think I'll make separate video beyond the class limits of 10 hours. So, what am I? Is the traits. So, I should understand what am I. What are my traits? Which course I should take it up? Rarely any student in this class would say, if you sincerely assess, don't use defensive mechanism. Sincerely assess, yes, I studied the desired subject, I achieved to that place. Maybe very few can tell that. Because we don't get that much opportunity, but individually it is possible through training, because all the people, crores of people are not approaching us. When a single person or a few people are coming, we can do a lot of things. So here, it is based on your traits and wishes. You must be able to understand the career. A student is telling in the 12th standard that I want to take up engineering, I wanted to be a scientist. He even doesn't know what is meant by a scientist. But I'm not every time appreciating the European culture. By the time the students are, a student of 14 years is going for some job, he understands a lot of jobs and all that. He can definitely choose. Still, he may have problem. Role confusion may come whether I should select it that. Best example I tell you, majority of the students sitting before me would have cursed, oh, I have to go for this dirty job today. I'm fed up with this job. This is because that means you are cursing your job. Identity versus role confusion, because whatever is your identity, according to that only you have to choose a career. In Sanskrit is Swatantram Te Tandram. Whatever freedom that it gives. The difference we can say between a job and career is that a job is just a livelihood. I am not saying that any daily worker's job is something lesser of status or dignity. It is their working only brings food on our table. So we have to appreciate. But what is the reputation they get? What is the income they get? You can say the daily worker is paid 900 rupees more than the salary of even a private school teacher. That is true. But what a private school teacher is getting with MSc BEd also, she may be getting only 10,000 rupees. And I am not discouraging. This is a fact. In government job, it is perfectly alright. Otherwise, the income is dignity, reputation, everything is there. So all these get affected during this period. The right solution is that we give the career guidance. So give the career guidance is also the job of a. By second year, you will be studying the counseling techniques and all that. At that time, you will come to know what the job of a psychologist includes the giving career guidance. But you should understand, the psychologist himself or herself has not achieved a good career. How can they guide? So they should know what all the courses are available. They themselves must achieve a very good career, a full job. So Mohanlal used to tell, I heard once that he said, my profession, my film may fail or become a success, but my character, my role, that's a devotion for me. It's a meditation for me. Likewise, how many of you are doing your job like that? Very few. So people do not have interest. Even those who wrote a PSA test, got a prestigious, covetous government job, maybe working in some traffic transport office and all that, amidst the paper and files, and they are working. People even take voluntary retirement, fed up with the job. I think you understood with this, no more explanations required. Even from a government job, people wanted to, somehow I wanted to end up this. For want of pension only, I am continuing. Many people used to say, for want of pension only, I am continuing this, getting the full pension, otherwise I would have taken VRS. So why people are thinking like that? Identity versus role confusion. Let it not happen to you. Or if it's all, most of the people are suffering from this, study this subject well, find out a very good profession, good career. Now, 18 to 45, young adulthood. This I will be explaining once again. It's called, the focus is intimacy versus isolation. As we study, the 13 to 19 or 12 to 18, the genital period, the hormonal, so heterosexual interest, everything is applicable here also. Here the theorist is not talking about it, but we can link this theory to that theory. In 18 to 45, by 45, a person get mature to that level, get married. That is why I will be discussing all this in continuation to this particular stage in another stage now itself. See, Erickson's continue beyond 65 years. This particular thing, since I do not have space there, I have written in another slide. Erickson, young adulthood. Young adulthood said intimacy versus isolation. All intimate relation. Heterosexual interest, heterosexual relation. When they get married, there is another relation, a set of relation. When they go for job, a very good group of colleagues. Now the peers have become colleagues. Establishing meaningful relation, particularly I have mentioned as physical, emotional, intellectual, plus. That is why instead of going for the blind love affair, and social psychology will be studying or would have studied all those things, the importance of relations and all that. The physical, emotional, intellectual, here just opposite attracts is the only relation for the teenage. Birds of the same feather flock together. You would have studied, it's a part of social psychology. Birds of the same feather flock together. That is not the image that the child is, a person is having in the teenage. It is only opposite attracts. That is why it may not last long. So that is why meaningful relations. So even the counseling of the love affair, when the love affair is coming to you, when the clients are brought to you by the parents, that she is in the trap of the love affair. At that time, actually, you can use all this. How to cognitively use the cognition, each and every term. You cannot compartmentalize any particular chapter or a topic for counseling. What all we study, we have to integrate in the counseling room. So, establishing meaningful relation means physical relation. Definitely, everybody is keen to have, wishes to achieve this physical relation. But that should not be just opposite attract, should be meaningful, emotional, intellectual. When you find a partner, whether they are in the same rhythm, entirely different career, but maybe because in Indian condition to get a match you have to sacrifice all this, but you have to at least understand this. And the meaningful relation, the question is, what you began in the first day of your marriage, honeymoon, why it is closed after some time? Because there are a lot of ruptures occurring. Like the traditional lamp. I always say this example of traditional lamp. You come to your house, you see the traditional lamp, the Nalavilak, is kept there, a new one. Then you inquire the parents or the other members of the family. We have enough, why we bought it, a new one? Then your mother or father, somebody would say, no, it's actually a vessel seller, the person who sells all this came here, he brought a liquid and we also purchased some other utensils. So he made it new because all the clay, all the dirt, everything is removed. Likewise, we are all carrying such a mind in our personal relation, in our family relation, in employment, in family life, very important, the family life, husband and wife, due to a lot of bickering, day by day, the traditional lamp has become dark and grey. So you have to remove, first you remove using the knowledge that you acquired from the great psychology subject, great opportunity provided by Indira Gandhi National Open University. I'm sure you are also distressed because you are not able to interact and come together. It's all because of the COVID. Otherwise, under our coordinator, Prema Madam, we are doing wonders there. But the government is not allowing us. For the safety, we should not also. So this period of 18 to 45 is very vital. Erickson called it as a period of reliving. This is because any previous period lost can also be partially or completely brought back through better awareness or better resource. But 18 to 45, if lost, the physically meaningful, that's why it's physically meaningful, emotionally meaningful, intellectually meaningful. If the physically meaningful is lost, irreparably would result in achieving further relations also in poor quality. Why? Because by most of the students may be in the average age of 40-45, especially in females. What happens is that their menopause comes, hormonal decline. So by that time, as we said, the relation, bickering relation, lot of frustrations, the job, family life, relation with the children, society, all this add all that's in the thoughts. What happens is that we are just living. So the old days of the honeymoon, everything is lost. So if it is irreparably lost, what happens is that you cannot bring back. Other, if you continued it, the first days of honeymoon relation, I'm not saying the raw sexual relation alone, that also include. So that's why Abraham Maslow is a master in this. He studied a lot of things. He said that so one of the basic requirements of human have healthy sexual relation with affection and affinity. Without that, just a physical, not just a physical relation, along with added with a mind. So that relation, if you don't continue, especially for females, it will be a threat. Lot of illness, everything will come because already menopause is their psychological faculty will go down. They don't even like talking about the sexual romantic relations and live in dreams. So all the relations, emotional, intellectual, you have to continue your education. And why it is called a period of reliving? Let me go back to the period of 6 to 12. A person who marry around in between 25-30, around, usually should have completed the duty of giving birth to the children. Usually. I am telling continuity, discontinuity. Don't exactly take this 18 to 45, don't compare to it. Around this period, before 50 years and all that, a father and the mother by 45 and all that would have had 2 children. So the thing is that going back may not be possible every time, because a person who married and by 35 he has to generate income. At that time he may not be able to go for studies, though distance education like IGNOU is available. He may not be able to exactly take up a career and according to his passion. But in any case, is it not the right time to rear the children till 12 years? Mastery of culturally and academically relevant skill. What the parents should do, they should see that they achieve the culturally and academically relevant skills in their children, so that by 6th and day the parents become independent. They can study them. Because both culturally and academically relevant skills should have been brought in a child. In that way, you become free. That is why a reliving is possible for the parents. Now, parents should be independent. They have paid enough money, but every time it may not be possible. At least when the children are brought up with a good cultural and academical knowledge, they are comparatively free. But unfortunately, what happens in your own houses, the mothers have to sit with the children even in the 12th standard. So they will not get that freedom. So that is why mastery of culturally and academically relevant skills. If you achieve this, you will become free comparatively. So then you can think of your lost career. Suppose you had certain vision, even in a cultural activity or any other fine arts or any academics. If you reared the children in such a way that by 12 years they are made independent, but that is not happening. It's all because of our own faults, not because of the fault in the theory. Maybe there are some limitations, but individually it is possible. Micro sense it is possible, macro sense it may not be possible. Individually it is possible. By 12th year, if you rear the child in such a way that what happens is that you parents are now comfortable to get into certain career, and whatever lost can be brought back. Now, I think this portion is also very clear. Where you should reach, you should decide at this period. If it is not possible, you relieve and accomplish it. Now comes 45 to 65 is called middle adulthood, generativity versus stagnation. Here the focus you should do. Generativity versus stagnation means By 45, actually if a person has really achieved, reared the children, made them independent, you started improving your career, income, everything, a happy life. That means you feel a love and affection towards yourself, the society. You giving, start giving to others. Generativity versus stagnation. So the explanation the next, like the other 18 to 45 explanation is given separately. Let us see what is said. 45 to 65, middle adulthood, generativity versus stagnation, caring for others. Because you have already enjoyed the hormonal life, a very intimate relation, family, your career you brought up. That's why I told you, it's not possible macroeconomic sense. Micro sense it is possible. The clients are micro only. So people who achieved successfully the previous period is sure of sacrificing for the society, get stagnated, otherwise might get irritable and unsocial. You can see many people even at 60 years they don't have they don't have even a pension. See, this is all career guidance, a part of career guidance. I am a government servant. That doesn't mean that only government servants can get pension. There is public provident fund was there years back with the post office, and now we have got NPS, National Pension System, where probably anybody can join, get a good pension. All these things they should do. At the time of retirement, nothing is left out, or by the time you reach 45, 60, nothing is there. Naturally caring for others is not possible. So you have to achieve this period of 18 to 40, that's the previous period. Then you can sacrifice society, can become some person is called holistically. Gestalt to psychology, maybe all the topics are not covered. So it's not possible. You have to take up your studies day by day. It's an unending subject, such an ocean, it's voracious. You should be voracious to acquire knowledge in psychology. Not alone psychology, unless there is about very good knowledge about many subjects, social subjects and medical subjects, you cannot achieve to become a good psychologist. Now, let me take up the other one, 65 plus, late adulthood, the integrity versus despair. What does it say in the explanation? Let us see. 65 plus, late adulthood, integrity versus despair, life evaluation. Now the person can think of evaluating after 65. Yes, I have achieved. My children, at least even if they didn't achieve a good position, culturally, academically, or 11 skills, see, Freudian hedonism or the libido is never wrong when it is done socially acceptable manners, the sublimation. Nothing wrong. Actually, it is for pleasures only. As we discussed, we are all of us living for pleasures only. Nothing wrong. So when Erickson made this theory, life expectancy was limited to 65. Yes, well, that's right. Beginning itself said, when this was made, theory was made, the life expectancy was around 70 and all that. So that is why he made 65 plus as late adulthood life evaluation. And now, as life expectancy is also improved, further research extended the period as 65 to 75 in Australia, all other European countries, Canada. The government is asking to continue even in government job. Government job may not be attractive unlike our place. So, but still, whatever you can contribute to society, go and work. We don't have people. People from other countries are coming and working and taking their money. So what now they are very vigilant that they are demanding the old age people 65 to 75. So they are termed it as that you don't have to write as a small paragraph, you write nothing wrong, but you don't have to highlight because I think it is not there in your syllabus to study. It is the advanced schools make this 65 to thinkers, 65 to 75, so young or old. So they can fully engage in the work. And 75 to 85, old. Even till 85 and other, people can do whatever possible if health permits. Rest, oldest old. Then only the rest is expected. Now you should understand. You may say what the sir is telling, already people don't have employment. We are thinking in the micro sense here because the individual life that is concerned. And you think about another faculty. A person gets job around 30 and all that only. between 25 to 30. A person is retiring by 55, 56. How many years a person is contributing in service? Say average some 25 years or 25 to 30 years. Now what is the life expectancy of people in Kerala? It is 80. So a person is contributing something to the production activity, the direct production activity. I am not saying that you are not doing any service till you get job or after the retirement. But usually the economic contribution is there. I'm not saying that the household people are not doing it. They are all contributing. That's why in India or developing nations, the calculation of the national income is wrong, because the service of the mother, wife is not considered. So likewise, prior to getting an employment and after the retirement also, people are contributing a lot. But as a worker, contributing is only for 30 years out of 80 years. So 50 years you are not earning anything, 30 years only you are earning, means the economy cannot survive. And employment, everything is another area that has to be solved by the governance. So I think you are clear about Erica. Theory. My dear friends, let me switch on to another theory. Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Here also, there could be some clash between this theory and the one that we just studied. Please try to understand. Based on our little knowledge, we should not make any comments, because every theorist has made a lot of observations based on this, and depending on the period we live, the theory is made maybe 50 years back, even 75 years back. So the Freudian period is not the society today. So necessary alterations should be made within. Instead of blaming, ridiculing a scientist, it's wrong. What best you can get from a theory, that is what that should be your idea while discussing it. Anyhow, I will not be taking any other development theory other than that of Piaget in detail, because when we studied Freud and again Erickson's theory is so detailed, now it is your duty to study any theory in detail in the same way. So I am just beginning. I just read out and explain, and when there is a contradiction, that also I will mention. So Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Moral development is the gradual development of an individual's concept of right or wrong, conscious, religious values, social attitudes, and certain behavior. The right way, the wrong way. This theory is a stage theory. In other words, everyone goes through the stages sequentially without skipping any stage. However, movement through these stages are not natural. That is, people do not automatically move from one stage to the next as they mature. In stage development, movement occurs when a person notices inadequacies in his or her present way of coping with a given moral dilemma. Moral dilemma is one of his terminology. Sometimes questions are asked based on Kohlberg's moral dilemma alone. You should understand this, it belongs to Kohlberg. Similarly, the ego, superego concepts, sometimes short questions that alone will be asked. You have to relate which theories, the context, everything. According to stage theory, people cannot understand moral reasoning more than one stage ahead of their own. For example, a person in stage 1 can understand stage 2 reasoning, but nothing beyond that. So it is his terminology. Situations has changed, culture has changed, media influence is there. Lot of things influence the theory also. So it is not the fault of the theorist. Though there is a clear contradiction in relation to other theory, there is criticism, that also we will discuss. So criticisms are always should be taken in the positive way, whether we can make out something out of the criticism. That should be our motto. Level 1, that's right. Level 1, stage 1. Level 1, pre-conventional morality 0 to 9 years. But we have had 0 to 1.5, 1.5 to 3 like that. Now this is 0 to 9 years, especially common in young children, but adults are capable of expressing this type of reasoning. At this stage, children see rules as fixed and absolute. Rules don't change. Obeys rules in order to avoid punishment. A child who may question you, I am not allowed to take sweet or food before brushing my teeth in the morning. And when you tell the child, a 1.5-year child, that don't take food or sweet after you take a brushing, after you brush your teeth at night. Here the child gets confused. What nonsense the parents are telling. How can the parents tell like that? Morning I am not allowed to take food without brushing. Night he says, no, before going to bed, after you brush, don't take sweets. For the child it is a nonsense, because the child has not grown to that level of cooperation. It is the fault of the parents not making understand the child. Or the parents have to wait till the child understands this. So you have to service. So obeys rules in order to avoid punishment. So the children normally fix rules fixed and absolute. Why there is change? So Auchityapurnamayitte rules have to get changed. That means to add to situation, the behavior also should change. Slowly only the child will understand. You have to create a conducive atmosphere. Otherwise, child will have the mistrust and all. Determines a sense of right and wrong by what is punished and what is not punished. Obeys superior authority and allows that authority to make the rules, especially if that authority has the power to inflict pain. You have in MBC 3 Skinnerian theory. You have to connect all this. That's what I am telling. Each and every concept, each and every word is important. You study the whole 10 papers, total 13 events are there, even beyond that. You have to accomplish all this religiously so that you get knowledge. In response to the rules that will affect his or physical well-being. That's when there is a discomfort, you will come to know in Patanjali Yoga, there is a saying, Sukha Anushayi Raga, Dukkha Anushayi Dvesha. It's a rule. Sukha Anushayi Raga means when you are given comfort, Sukham, you have the raga towards the other person. When Dukkha Anushayi Dvesha, if you are given pain, there will be dislike. So this is a universal rule made by Patanjali Yoga through Patanjali Yoga Sutra. It is all sutras, threads. Just one line transfers lot of knowledge, lot of message for a living even. It contains 197 such sutras. So level 2, conventional morality 10 to 15 years. This is stage 4, law and social order. Then the child slowly get into the society. At this stage of moral development, people begin to consider society as a whole when making judgments. The focus is on maintaining law and order by following the rules, doing one's duty and respecting authority. He is a duty doer who believes in rigid rules that should not be changed, respects authority and obeys it without question, supports the rights of the majority without concern for those in the minority. He is part of about 80% of the population that does not progress past stage 4. Here also we have to compare and take whatever good from here and compare with the Freudian theory as well as Erickson's theory, because 10 to 15, the teenage, you can see lot of disobedience. Here say obedience. Again, you studied superego. If a child is brought with a lot of superego and taught in such a way as modeled by the parents and society, this may happen. Otherwise, hormonal change, academically, culturally, the child is not considered at the margin. So even not at the margin. So what happens? That child feel that I am unimportant. Such children you cannot expect this. So all this you have to commit. It's your duty. It's only a theory. Various theories when you study, you can find reason also why Colbert's theory is not working, because of various other influences. So level 3, post-conventional morality 16 plus. Legalistic social contract. At this stage, people begin to account for the differing values, opinions and beliefs of other people. Rules of law are important for maintaining a society, but members of the society should agree upon these standards. This is what. At this stage, people begin to account for the differing values, opinions and beliefs of other people. Sometimes a 9-year-old student may be very restless. Child may be having ADHD, child may be having many other faculty, even small children have got thyroid issues, lot of, that's why you should have very good knowledge what happens in society. Now children are born with the mobiles and all that, so they get lot of other information, other imagination, unrealistic things, all this affect the morality, everything. So even the phallic stage, as you know, 3 to 6, if that is spoiled, what will happen? This faculty will not come. He is motivated by the belief in the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people, believes in the consensus, everyone agrees, rather than in majority rule, respects in the right of the minority, especially the right of the individual, believes that change in law is possible, but only through the system. But see, here also, instead of ridiculing or blaming, it is not like that. Find the reason why it is not like that. If you treat this as ideal, what is the reason for deviation? That is more important. That is why I started the concept with the nature nurture, a conceptual study on cognition. You have to think. I helped you to think, because these many things are out of syllabus. I am linking from the other syllabuses only for you to help you practice and to make a change in yourself. Then only you can do something. Because I told you, counseling means it's never advice. Counseling means help a person to help another person. If you start advising, nobody will obey you, nobody will come to you. No one likes advising. Whether you like advising, that's also a matter. You think yourself. So, by making very good knowledge, I mean a gestalt kind of knowledge, holistic knowledge, you can do practice. So, instead of blaming and ridiculing, please try to find if this is ideal, why this is not happening. You can consider other theories and find answers instead of finding faults in this theory. Post-conventional morality 16 plus. Legalistic social contract. At this stage, people begin to account for the differing values, opinions and beliefs of other people. Rules of law are important for maintaining a society, but members of society should agree upon the standards. He is motivated by the belief of the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people, believes in consensus, everyone agrees, rather than the majority rule, respects the rights of the minority, especially the rights of the individual, believes that change in law is possible only through the system. So I repeatedly said, once again I reproduced it because this is that relevant. Please try to understand and please try to compare why it is not happening. Hope you are clear now. Post-conventional morality, again stage 6, universal ethical principles. Callbacks, there could be some mistakes, spelling mistakes, callbacks. Final level of moral reasoning is based upon the universal ethical principles and abstract reasoning. At this stage, people follow these internalized principles of justice even if they conflict with laws and rules. Believes that there is high moral principles than those represented by social rules and customs. Exactly. This is very, very important. And this is one of the criticisms of theory. Who told you to limit? There is no limit for imagination. So people may think whether the justice and moral which is right. And this is the dilemma. One case study is also coming, then you will be clear. He is willing to accept the consequences of disobedience of the social rule she has rejected. Believes that the dignity of humanity is sacred and that all humans have value. That is what. When he says about the justice, at the same time moral, whether justice and moral go at par. I could have taken this theory also in detail, like that one I did Freudian theory and Erickson's theory, but we have limitations. I am getting only 10 hours, whereas a regular college they will be getting 80 hours. So please try to study these theories in detail, because I am teaching 3 theories in detail: Freudian theory, Erickson's theory I have completed, Piaget also. I will try my best. So it's a dilemma. One example is that you would have heard this story. A woman was near death from a special kind of cancer. There was one drug that the doctors thought might save her. It was a form of radium that a druggist in the same town had recently discovered. The drug was expensive to make, but the druggist was charging 10 times what the drug cost him to produce. He paid $200 for the radium and charged $2,000 for the small dose of the drug. When against the cost of $200, he was charging $2,000. The sick woman's husband Ames went to everyone he knew to borrow the money, but he could not get together about even $1,000, which is half of what it costs. He told the druggist that his wife was dying and asked him to sell it cheaper or let him pay later. But the druggist said, "No, I discovered the drug and I am going to make money from it." So Haynes got desperate and broke into a man's store to steal the drug for his wife. So the dilemma is, what you would do, how can you justify it? So when you justify, you have got lot of solution. Let him steal. Since he is so sincere and truthful, he told that he would pay later. So he will make money and he may replace with 2 units instead of 1 unit. Or he may pay $4,000. So it is, I am leaving to you. So now criticism, I am not talking much because I am not bothered about the criticism. From the criticism, what you get is more important. Criticism I already said, justice and moral. So all these are discussed here. Better you read and find, because I am against giving a criticism. From the criticism, whether we can make something good out of it. So you make it, you read it. I think you can console yourself that instead of criticism, as I say, if the moral value as he discussed, how the society should be turned and tuned, it is up to you whether which all theories, which are super ego, whatever will help or not, or the Erickson's theory of trust, mistrust, all these conditions, 6 to 12 and 12 to 18, all this, for example, 6 to 12, the best culturally and academically skills. When it is given, society would be better. Instead of that, nature and nurture, the genes and environment. We have no right to blame anybody. Let the law take its course, but as a psychologist, that is acceptable. Find no fault in anyone. So the learning activity is also given. It's a similar case. It's up to you to take a decision on this, like the moral thing of stealing, the justice versus moral of that stealing of the drug. That you take a decision similarly. So now I am coming with the same sentence. So I only added a pursuit towards, because self-actualization, you will come to know that it is near to impossible or next to impossible. Why? Because we will study one of the motivation theories. Though it is not in the syllabus, this condition, it is there in the syllabus, maybe in the MPC 3, but the thing is self-actualization. That concept is that, as we said, a pursuit towards achieving self-actualization in according to Maslow, one of the humanitarian theories. But the theory should be dealt in a different way, taken from its criticism. So I will come to that. because you will be studying this. It's a simple theory, in fact. Many people will be teaching you. Many people will be posting it, but most of the posting I find that basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, etc. Basic needs. Of course, sex is food, etc. is very sex and food is taken together, in fact. So, because everything is pleasure giving only, but it's moralistic principle that you have to follow, that you have studied in Erickson as well as a Cornus theory. Food, clothing, all the pleasures should be socially acceptable. Sublimation. Freud is also very clear. Instead of criticizing Freud, take the case of sublimation alone. Live according to socially desirable manners. Nothing wrong in enjoying the pleasure, but it should be acceptable to society. So, food, clothing, etc. the basic needs. Security needs. One should be safe. That all you can read and understand. Very easy. Then love needs. So, this is called pyramid. That is why it's called pyramid. Esteem needs. Esteem is a person, there was a car that has been stopped by Maruti Esteem. Even by seeing that, it looked like a foreign car, it failed, that implies that there is a desire car. So, when motivating you with a desire that to possess that car, likewise or Benz, whatever. So, the puzzle is given. So, I only made those pictures purposely to make you understand. Whenever you add a unit, one will be open. Anywhere you take, one will be open. One portion will be open. So when you fix it to another portion will be open in this. So the puzzle is never complete, because esteem is taken. People want to be, because people or the film Prangiat and film. So likewise, people wanted to achieve and establish before somebody that the esteem it. Always we have all this. We have this. This is required also for the sustenance and the development and to work hard. We should have this. It should not be at the cost of and expense of others. That much only. So then comes the self-actualization. Here, what he wanted to project is that it's a very respected personality, Maslow, Abraham Maslow, given very much importance to the living with awareness. He was given a project in animal sexuality. Please try to understand that in his research he found that those pairs in the animals, in the woods or in the forest, lived more happily with less animosity when there was better sexual accomplishment. It's the same with the human being. When there's a good family life, good chemistry flow, and less will be the animosity. And it's always try to nurture. As I told you, from the first day of married life, why can't we continue even at 60 years? It is possible, provided you clean all the dirts every day. With all techniques we studied in Freudian theory, unconscious, everything, how not to build or reduce the unconscious. All the concepts are very important, but don't have to openly say all this is with clients, that clients did not study the whole psychology. When you complete psychology, and especially the jargons and that, must be very careful. Even I told you, the 18 to 45 is the best period for physical relation, establishing best meaningful relation. Suppose, and when an opposite sex is coming, because I am treating a female, or counseling a female, or a female is counseling a gent, there could be confusions. What exactly the clinician said? Did he mean anything wrong with me? So you must be very careful when you are, because second year you will be studying lot of protocols. Actually, we are supposed to follow the protocol. Opposite sex should not come alone. There should be some issues after they leave the place. They may think, well, what he would have thought. Then tell something wrong already in advance about the clinician. All this you should prevent. So be careful when you start practicing. Have good knowledge. From experience, we are telling all these things. Must be very careful when dealing with the clients and when you are exchanging the jargons with the educated people only, with the people who understand only, you can share it. Otherwise, if you think whether the clinician had some other interest, so I'll bring bad names in the clinician, whether it's male or female. I'm repeatedly telling, so one of the cases of a teacher. The teacher was so affectionate to a student of 12th year. She wanted that student to come. It's a brilliant student. The thing is, when the teacher, the female teacher, touched the hands of the boy, actually, that's why we got a Freudian theory. 12 to 18, the genital paid heterosexual interest. The student, maybe the teacher has got the opposite sincerity only, approaching the child and touching his hands and motivating. The student told it different. So he told this to his close friends. The teacher has got some interest in me. So what is the fate of the teacher? Such a case has also come to my clinic. That's why I'm telling. Must be very clear when dealing with people. People are coming with many neurotic and psychotic. Even we ourselves have the neurotic and psychotic traits. So must be very careful in treating everything. Just I took this occasion to tell you because I am ending this first year class with the next class. So we will see later through WhatsApp or video. Now, according to this theory, what he says that all the basic needs have to be satisfied first, then the security need, then love need, then esteem needs, then only one can become self-actualized. Self-actualized is a condition that we discussed. 12 to 18 of Erickson. What am I? What are my traits? Where I should reach, where I am now. From that you can reach. What is me? What is my trait? Where actually I want to reach, where I am now. All this can be considered. That in short you can say it's a bliss. For example, wisdom. Wisdom, you know what is wisdom, a particular perfect knowledge, without any bias, without any psychological faculty interfering in this. So you are always swastha vritta. That means it's called mind and body is calm and peaceful. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. There is no mental fluctuations. So such a bliss can be achieved through self-actualization. Where you actually wanted to reach, you can reach. So Abraham Maslow himself pointed out more than half a dozen people. One of the mentioned was Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln actually achieved self-actualized. So naturally the criticism came. And that's why from the criticism, the theory actually, what actually contributed, more than that as is contributed from through its criticism. So the criticism is actually very important. That's what I am telling. When somebody is criticizing Hobbes theory, why that is an ideal theory, why it is not happening, then the solution is there. Likewise, if you psychologists study like this, one has to achieve basic needs, security needs, love needs, esteem needs, then only one can actualize. How many people in this world can actualize them, self-actualize them? Hardly anyone. Because many people suffered. All the people who achieved suffered a lot in their life. Isn't it? So that means, best example is Abraham Lincoln. You have studied the Abraham Lincoln's theory. What was he? He was helping the woodcutters. After that work, he used to, the debris of the wood and all that, he helped the woodcutters, preparing railway planks. At that time, now only the concrete metal is there. Concrete is common now. At that time, because reinforced cementing, that you see, it will not break. So stretched iron bars are used in it. So it has got a particular much better than steel itself. Earlier we had steel planks and wooden planks. Now it is replaced with concrete planks. So at that time, Abraham Lincoln was helping these woodcutters to cut the wood and also to make the planks, and whatever leftover of the wood he would sell to the hotels, and he got his living. So the question is whether he got this, means he got it, but who is supposed to give it? Parents. He didn't have parents to support. So he himself made. That means he didn't have this. A student who is supposed to study. Ericsson's theory, you see, trust versus mistrust, that inferiority, guilt, everything we have studied. So what was the experience of the child as Abraham Lincoln as a child? Food, shelter, everything he didn't get it, or he had to make it. What was the security? He, as you have read, he is studying during night. He was studying under the street light. Nowadays, our children may say why he didn't get time in the day. He had to win his bread. There was nobody to support him. So security need, there was no security need. Love need, you would not have thought of it. And esteem need, he didn't even know esteem, because he was trying hard to survive. So what happened in his story? How he actualized? Because when he was traveling in a robot at that time, there was exchange and getting work done through slaves. He saw in another boat, slaves are being transported. When slaves are being transported, he took a decision that if he becomes the president of US, he will stop slavery. So he worked for that. If you take go to the net, I believe he failed, including in the Senate, right from the lower level of Panchayat or so at that time, and in his place, he failed for 28 times, and finally he actualized. He wanted to become the president. He became the president, and he stopped slavery. Now you see, he didn't have any of these things. Basic needs, security, love need, esteem need. Still he actualized. And many people, the theory is in fact contrary, but it contributed a lot through the criticism. Many people, we get all these things, we reach till many of us reach or try towards self-esteem. We don't even know what is self-actualization. But those who knew what is self-actualization, where I should reach, what are my faculties, where I stand now, where I should reach. That a person is very clear. That means self-actualization. He will at least work towards self-actualization. It is not necessary he should become a prime minister, even our present prime minister or Abdul Kalam, whoever. They had a vision. Even Abdul Kalam did not have a vision to become the president, but his faculties made him, lifted him to that place. That means those people who didn't have anything also actualizes it. Actually, this is those people who actualize. I don't think our Abdul Kalam had all this. He had all this. He had an esteem need and all. No, he was a teacher. He took his respected person. I go before him. He took his last breath as a teacher. So, self-actualization means where you actually wanted to reach, fixing should take place in 12 to 18 years. But we do not know even at 30 years what should be our career. Anyhow, it is very clear that those who have all this, the basic needs, security need, love need and esteem need, those who fill all this, usually do not achieve self-actualization. But many who got self-actualized didn't have all this. So even a criticism add value to the theory. So thank you all. See you in the next class.